Yo, GM. What is good, everyone? Let me see if we can get a GM in the chat. Let me know that you can hear me. Oh, we only got one of you right now. Okay, smaller crowd, but we're gonna push on regardless. It is an odd time that I'm doing the stream today. 6:30 p.m. for me. 7:30 p.m. for the New Yorkers. Decentralize or die, says GM. Mic volume is good. Let me try and get rid of some of this stuff here. Okay, so what is going on, everybody? I don't know what it is, and I do not do it intentionally. but whenever I stream, it tends to be on a day where there's a bit of red occurring in the markets. Let me just pull this up as I do every stream at the beginning. Actually, let me do some of this stuff first. What's up, everyone? I am 0xRapture, and welcome to another episode of Astrology for Men. Called this one Timing is Everything. Seems appropriate. Since we've been running through these sort of like this choppy summer conditions that everyone is like, oh, was that the bottom? Is this the bottom? Are we just going to keep chopping around? Well, timing is everything. And sometimes it's time to step on the gas. Other times it's time to ease up a little bit and not go full throttle and lose a bunch of your capital before the real party begins. Anyways, so yeah, this is Astrology for Men, brought to you by the Daily Edge. If you're not already, let me pop one of these up. Don't forget to subscribe to thedailyedge.com/subscribe, which is your daily newsletter sent direct to your inbox, full of all kinds of actionable intel, alpha, and insights from Onchain Wizard. It's a great place to get caught up with the previous day on chain. Even dabbles a little bit into the attention of perps. Lots of information in there. It's sort of a companion daily newsletter to utilize in the ChainEDGE site, especially if you don't have all day to be monitoring the market, monitoring what's happening, monitoring the charts, and to get an understanding of what's occurred. It's a real great way to stay on top of all that stuff. So I would recommend heading over to thedailyedge.com/subscribe. Okay. So let me pull up the screen. Let me pull up the screen here. Get rid of my ugly mug. There we go. Yeah, I mean, I don't do it intentionally, but for some reason, I think all except for one stream, it's been a day where there is a lot of red on the markets. Nothing crazy right now. I mean, BTC, it's still holding on to a little bit of green. That, as you can see, we just keep coming up into this area, this supply zone that I drew out, I don't know, weeks ago. When did I draw this out? Beginning of August. So like 3+ weeks ago. And we just keep coming up into here. Two proper tags up into there. ETH has come up into this zone that was actually a weekly level that was drawn out a long time ago. And it's tagged it now like 3-4 times and keeps falling off. Full on, at least very obvious, into the supply zone. And very clear rejection. So, we're into some support areas, but we're not here to talk about majors. We're here to look at on-chain. About 20 minutes to go until the daily close, but at the moment, I don't know, not looking too fantastic, but also nothing to really worry about. If you ask me, let me pull this screen off and let me pull up the watch list. I appreciate everyone that sent in requests. Always appreciate when you guys send in those requests. Let me see, which one is it? Here we go. Okay. So this is the watch list we're working from today, from all the requests that came in. A little under 20 charts were requested. Not too crazy. I think last time there was more than 20 and we got through it in 2 hours. So my plan is today, let's just blaze through this and get through it. Maybe like, I don't know, an hour and a half would be awesome. Probably going to be less question taken today since there aren't too many of you watching the live at the moment. But of course, I'll always take any questions that anybody has. Always open to taking questions. But let's just dive in and we'll get started. So I've sorted by volume and we'll just start top volume down. Decent list. Let's dive in. Okay, so here we have the FWOG chart. Obviously, I've been one of the strongest coins out of that consolidation after the major sell-off that we had on across the board on the markets. I think like August. When was this? Early August. It was the strongest one out of the gates there. Once things started to improve. So what's it been doing now? Okay, well, it's made very clear above this previous all-time high. Like, did a nice parabolic move up past previous all-time high, and at the moment, it's sort of testing. It's into a daily demand, but there's no swing low here. The trouble with the daily range is the bottom of the range is actually all the way down here. So like that's not really that useful. Here's the bottom of the daily range. Here's the top of the daily range. You're not looking for something down here because I would just call that done. But if we go to H12, you can see that we're into an H12 demand right now. Like here's your H12 range. Let me get rid of some of this so we can start fresh so you guys can see what it is that I'm looking at. Okay. So that was a daily level. As you all know, across time zones, across time frames, those don't always line up. So let's see here. Actually, you know what? There isn't even a swing low on H12 here. So that's just the demand, but there's no actual swing level. Let's take a look. On H4, there is. There's your swing low on H4. So let's just mark this out. It is your H12 and daily. It isn't H12 and daily demand, but as you know, I like to have a swing point that created that, and across those both time frames, there isn't a swing point there. But on H4, there is. So we can say, here's the bottom of our H4 range. Ooh, okay. You know what? Now that I'm getting a better look here, you actually had a break in market structure to bearish on H4. So this one's a bit of a tough one to call, like, could this be topping here? It's quite possible. I mean, especially this here is quite telling, this rejection here. After it came up and tagged. It's a bit of a tough one to give. Oh, shit. It's a bit of a tough one. Because if I were to say, okay, here is your H12 demand. You don't have a swing low here, which I don't love seeing, because that means that truly the range is all the way down here. If I were to truly mark that out. But here's your H12 swing high. We'll just say for now, like on H12, we want this to hold. Because if it loses here, I mean, I guess previous all-time high level would be the next area of interest that you'd be looking to. And there is a fair value gap right there that I can see. I mean, we can mark this out here. Maybe this is what it wants to come down into, is to do something here with a sweep into the previous all-time high. I mean, that's very plausible. I mean, here we have the daily fair value gap as well. Okay, so let's just say that, because that makes the most sense, because it lines up well with the previous all-time high area. Here's your daily swing high. There's a swing low, but you certainly don't want to come all the way down there. So I would look for something to come into this previous all-time high and this daily fair value gap. Because now okay, that's a lot going on there. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Is that the daily one? Yeah, that's the daily. So you may have heard me a few minutes ago say, okay, on H4 it broke structure. Well, why is that? Right here, you had a break in market structure right there in H4 when it closed below. And we've since come up into supply, which is up in here, and rejected. Why is that the supply? Well, it was the swing high that created the low, breaking the market structure to bearish on H4, not on H12, not on daily. Those are still both bullish. But it broke structure when it closed below. You had an underside tag into the overhead supply, and it's selling off. So, I mean, it's looking very probable that it's going to come down and at minimum tag this daily fair value gap here. So that's what I would watch for, is if you're looking to get in, buy somewhere I mean, really, the previous all-time high level is great. That's a great retest area generally for coins. If you start closing back below that all-time high level on any meaningful time frame, especially daily, then I would think that, maybe this party's over. But for now, I would be looking for someone to come into here. But, H4 is definitely broken to bearish. So that could be an early warning sign that the trend is starting to go against you. It does look messy here because there was a lot of chop. Like, let me clean this up one more time so that people can understand why I just drew what I drew. Okay. What happened? This was the low that created a high. Okay, hold on. Let's be precise here because we want to see what's going on. So actually, this was your high. This was the low. Sorry, this was the low that created the high, breaking the previous high, making a higher high. But then when it closed below here, there was your break in market structure on H4. Here was your tag into supply, which is what you'd expect, right? Is that you break structure on a time frame, it's going to act as supply because now you have people that bought this expecting it to go higher immediately underwater, and they're like, okay, shit, I'm break even, so they sell. It's it's typical human psychology right there. Now that being said, you're still H12 bullish as fuck. Daily, very bullish. So there's your daily fair value gap, which is what I'd be looking for, right? I'd be looking for it to come down into here. Here it is on H4, but that's your daily fair value gap. And I think a previous all-time high tag is worth a buy because there's a very high probability that it gets a reaction. How strong that reaction, I don't know. Depends on how much more overhead supply we start building in here, because even from there, like here's your current H4 range. Here's your current H4 range. Another close below there is going to create further overhead supply. But we'll deal with that when we get there because the daily trend is a stronger trend and higher signal. Okay, let's move it along. Let's see if we have any questions. No questions. Fairly small audience today. It is what it is. Okay, MOG. So I think someone in the AFM Telegram channel had asked me to start MOG from scratch so they could understand what's happening right now. And that's fine. I can do that. This is what I have drawn right now. And this analysis still stands. We're in a daily bullish structure, but let's start fresh. So here we are weekly. Weekly had broken bearish, which I believe we spoke about last stream. When it closed below, and you can see that it's been acting as overhead supply. Once it made a weekly lower low below there, you lost weekly structure. But it has run it, there's a lot of demand in this whole area, right? Like you can see there's a lot of demand in this area before going up, demand here before going up, but now you've got this supply. What we can also do is mark out some of the key areas. So you can see how important that level was. Attempted, closed back below, got above, bounced off of, but now we've come back and closed below it. So that's obviously a very important level. And the fact that we've lost weekly structure here isn't great. I'm going to say that. If we zoom down into daily, okay, I need these still to be here. Pop that onto there. Okay, so if we come into daily, this is what we're working with. Now, okay. So the reason why before I said that this was a bullish range was because you had a swing high, a daily swing high here that created the lower low that you got a daily close above. Right, you had a daily close above. Now, looking at this from a weekly view, you kind of have to take that as a higher time frame. But if you want to start things to reverse, you need to start going lower time frame. And in this instance, daily is the lower time frame. In this instance, daily is the lower time frame because we're talking about a weekly level. But you can see how important that level has been responding. But for now, here's your daily range, bottom of the range, because the daily has broken back bullish when it closed above this level here. When it got it above that swing high, you had this whole area now is daily demand. So you're looking for reasons in here to get bullish. And we had one the other week on H4, because remember, I always say when you're into a daily area, especially when it's large like that, start looking to lower time frames to look for triggers. And what we had was you had an H4. Where was it? Okay, it was here. Because there's no swing high in here that created the low, except from here. This was the high that created the low, even that low, but that was the high. So you were waiting for a close above that level, which was here. So then I had said this was your H4 demand, which had tagged perfectly. And why was that? Well, because you got an H4 close above that level right there. Now it's an interesting level because that's actually the weekly level that we closed below. So what this on a weekly scale is just an underside retest, but this is H4, but from a daily perspective, right? Right, like it closed below on weekly, and then it came in underside tagged and sold off. This is in a tricky spot at the moment because you're like, okay, is this the weekly trend is obviously the stronger trend. Kind of interesting that it's come right back into this same H4 demand that was created before. But a lot has happened since then. So you had your tag, you had your stair stepping, high, low, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So H4 has been in a bearish structure, which realigned with the weekly structure, even though daily is still bullish. Daily doesn't lose structure until it closes below there. So what you're doing now is you're just looking for the next higher high to occur. If your bias is bullish, if you're like, okay, I'm still very bullish on the market, I'm bullish on MOG, I am looking for a reason to enter this trade because I'm bullish. So what are you doing right now? Well, at the moment, here's your H4 range. Why is that the H4 range? Well, because it made the most recent lower low right here. When it closed below that level, this became your current H4 range. And you can see it's been chopping around in there. So what I would be looking for to get bullish on this is now we're sweeping this level. So and it has gone from going elevator down to sideways. So, buying this sweep here is a perfectly acceptable strategy because you know where you're invalidated is if you get an H4 close below there, trade thesis based off of this setup is done as a sweep. Just playing it as, okay, it's down at the bottom of the range. Well, next move I suspect would be top of the range. But if this closes below here, you're invalidated. But at the moment, so that the two triggers I would see is a sweep here, close within here. You buy anywhere close to this line with a thesis that you're going to go back to the top of the range and potentially close above and then start going the opposite direction. Or the other trigger you do is you wait for an H4 close above this swing high, which breaks market structure back to bullish on H4. And then you'd look to buy the retest, which I suspect would be somewhere around here. We don't know that yet because we don't know what the candles are going to look like between now and then. We can, this is the probability doesn't take place until one of two things takes place. Like you either buy this without knowing what's going to happen, but with a clear invalidation thesis, or you wait for this, whatever happens in here. If it gets a close above here, you look for your demand in here, but we just don't know yet. So that's what I'd be eyeing. I think given overall market weakness at the moment, this is less attractive than a reclaim up here. But you have to decide for yourself what your risk tolerance is and what your expectations are over the coming weeks, coming days, coming weeks, coming months. I think if you have a monthly view, then yeah, things are more bullish on the horizon. But short term, like the next few weeks into September, month or so, like a month from now, like there's potential headwinds on the market. So that is something you have to decide for yourself, which is why this sweep, while a perfectly acceptable trigger to go long, wouldn't be my preferred in this particular situation. Even though this whole region here, this whole zone, has been support in the past. But you get a close below there, then, I mean, likelihood that you're coming down here gets a lot higher. Okay. Moving along. Oh. What's up, Moonar? He says, awesome breakdown on Flog. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Good to see you as always. Okay, let's move along. Someone requested PopCat. So we had looked at this one last stream. Let's go back to daily, see what we have here. Let's take a look at what was outlined. Okay. Okay, on weekly, it was into weekly demand. I think the last stream took place last Friday, I think. So almost been a week. Sorry about that, guys. Need to do them a little bit more frequently. The last week was a little bit hectic. Weekly, you're into demand. It had a good reaction off that weekly demand, but it's failing to, at least for the moment, it's lost a bit of steam. There's, the structure is perfectly intact on weekly. If we go to daily, so daily just kept running. Oh, apologies. There's the daily close for majors, but we'll take a look in a second because I don't think much has changed since we looked a few minutes ago. Okay, so I believe during last stream, the announcement of PopCat getting listed on a SEX, I can't remember which SEX it was, might have been Bybit or something like that. It just came out, and obviously that was a bullish catalyst. And this was your daily range. Now, I had said daily had broken bearish, and there was your daily range. Well, you got the close above. So it's recaptured bullish daily structure right there. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of all this for a second. Once it closed above there on daily, you've recaptured daily structure. That's a wide range, though. Like if you're looking at the daily range, here's the top of the range. Here's your bottom of the range. That's a very large range. And you don't want to be like, how do you even decide where to bid in there? Well, it's finding support at this weekly level here. So you could even see, we see here, there's a daily fair value gap right there, which is overlapped with that. I'd be looking for this to hold. I mean, there's a few things that I see here because I even see a breaker. There's a daily breaker right here. That could also potentially, but this is just layers. Like the trouble with something like this, and trouble with some SEX coins, is as much as this analysis is applicable, and I learned on SEX pairs, there's a lot more that takes place on in the background from market makers and stuff like that that doesn't occur for our on-chain shitters. Because there's a few things that you could be looking for here, and I don't really want to dive into like the perps type of analysis, but like there's a breaker right here. But two areas that I'd be looking for is something in this daily fair value gap or something into this breaker here. You come all the way back and you've given back that whole move. I don't really love it. But what do we say? Okay, so we're looking at daily. Let's pop down to a lower time frame and see what we have. Okay. So the bottom of your H4 range is right here. There's the top. You're in perfectly your structure on H4 is still intact for bullish. I think coming down to the bottom of this FG or fair value gap on H4 and tagging into some of this demand here, which aligns with the bottom, is probably where it finds footing. I mean, it's pretty clear at the moment that you've got a range formed here, but it looks like it's about to lose this level. Oh, it did. It closed below there. So I think this is. I know it's a lot of boxes that I'm drawing here, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. But if we're to really clean this up, and if we were just looking at this on H4, I would say it's going to come into this demand here. And if it loses this demand, it's still bullish on daily and weekly. But the trouble is the bottom, it may not find a bottom till all the way down here, which is quite a significant from here even. I mean, that's a 30% move on a sex pair, which is pretty significant. Now, I don't think the market's going to give us a 30% nuke, although who knows if majors like BTC, ETH, Sol, if they decide to crap the bed, then that becomes a lot more plausible and likely. So in instances like this, especially a token that is traded on a SEX, where at the first signs of market weakness, people tighten up their risk curve and they start offloading things further out on the curve. And PopCat would definitely be further out on the risk curve, and people tend to rotate back into Bitcoin at that point or stables. So that's something I'd be aware of. But at the moment, here's your H4 demand that I'd be looking for the next area for a bounce. Okay, moving along because we're going a bit slower here than I wanted to. Moonar says, I doubt we see below 400 million on PopCat, but who knows? I mean, I don't like to ever subscribe to the whole, there's people that say, oh, that's the last time you're going to see Bitcoin below this price, or last time you're going to be, you know what? How many times does that just turn out to be bullshit? And it's a nice talking point, but it's not something that you can rely on. You just have to rely on levels, right? Like, yeah, does below here seem unlikely right now? Yes. But if for some reason that we don't know of at the moment, all of a sudden Bitcoin's like, well, I'm going to drop 10% today. A 30% move on PopCat doesn't seem unrealistic, right? I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's not at all what I'm saying here. Because over the next several months and into a year or so, I'm very bullish on crypto in the space. I just think the next few weeks, even about a month, could be a little bit more chop and downside. We'll have to see how TradFi responds after this weekend when they're back in the office, and the whole, what is it? It's Labor Day weekend, so that's usually when majority of TradFi gets back to the office after their summer holidays, and they start taking things more seriously. And because of the ETFs, crypto is now more than ever more correlated with equities, especially for the big ones. On chain, not as much, but like I said, as soon as you start getting tokens listed as sex pairs, those are the first things to get off in the event of trouble. Who knows what's going to happen? But bullish chart, bullish H4 demand, daily bullish, weekly bullish, like a lot's aligned there, right? When you have multiple time frames that are aligned and bullish, you have no reason to think otherwise until you're invalidated. So for the moment, I would be looking for something in around here for a higher low to form before going higher. Reddit dog. Reddit dog has been bullish as fuck. Another one that after all that sell-off consolidated and went on quite an epic run. Now, not as quite of an epic rung as Flog, although percent-wise, maybe very similar. Yeah, I think Flog was like 600%, Snoofy's 500%. And, we don't know if it's done yet. Now, we can see that it's come all the way up and slammed into this level that it had trouble with previously. And it's showing signs of rejection. What does daily look like? Yeah, I don't really like the daily chart on this. There's not really much to go off. And this analysis doesn't apply to that. Okay, we can start on H12. Let's just remove everything. Again, we can see how important this swing level was. Prices never closed above there. But you've been getting closes higher than you had in the past. So that's a sign of acceptance above this region. At the moment, okay. Here's your H12 demand. Right? When it closed above there, you got a higher high on H12. Here's your range. And there's the top of your range, which dead perfect on that previous all-time high. Why is it not the swing high? Well, because it's never closed above that swing high that was created. So those are just sweeps as of now. It's trying really hard to close above there. But there was obviously a lot of people that once price got it back up there, they're like, well, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to be here and do this. I want to take some profits. And it's expected, perfectly normal. I'd be looking for something, if you get a pullback into here, I'd be looking for a higher low before attempting to go up further. Now, I've spoken in the past, like when you get back to a previous all-time high and you start getting sweeps and rejection, like sweeps and closes back below, that's the definition of a sweep, or an SFP, is sweeps above the swing high, closes back below. If you start getting multiple wicks like that and closes, so many times, like this may just become a range play. And why did I put my mouse here? It wasn't just like some nonsense thought, like there's the bottom of your range, really, right? I can outline this here. You can see how that was the bottom of your range. So if you start getting a lot of sweeps in here, it's not unfathomable that it could come back down here and just be a massive range. But that's not the time or place right now. What you're looking for is a higher low to come into here. If you're going down into H4, I mean, look, even H4 hasn't been able to close above that level. You can see how important that previous all-time high level was. Oh, pardon me. You've had one. Let's bounce over, but you've had 1, 2, 3, 4 candles attempts to close above that previous all-time high level and has failed. If you start getting the H4 close above there, you might start thinking, okay, this is going to start going up again. And your H4 range. Okay, here's the bottom of your H4 range right here. Here's your H4 demand. You can see it tagged it and bounced. It also tagged the H12 demand, so like double line up there, but it just really depends on what's going to happen here. You start getting closes above here, then you can start, eyeing to the moon and whatnot. I mean, obviously I'd be aware of this. But for now, I think the best thing to look out for would be a higher low into here, into this H12 area, potentially into the H4, but you can go as low as down, all the way down here before you lose structure. And it may not find the higher low until down there. We just don't know yet. So that's what I'd be monitoring. Smoking chicken fish. Okay. There's a lot going on here. Let's clean all this up. Let's see what we got. Okay, well, obviously, that is an important level. Let's pop down to daily. Yeah, you can see how important that level was. Like attempted, closed above, closed below, immediately rejected off of it. That's why that one weekly level is so important. On daily. So daily is bullish. As soon as daily closed, do we have any other swing points here? No. So this was as soon as daily closed back above that level, you flip back to bullish because that was the high that created the low, creating a lower low because low, low, low. So it's been in a sequence of lower lows on daily. And then it finally put in a higher high. So you're looking for the higher low. And I believe I had marked this out as where I'd be first looking for a higher low to form. And we started getting signs that it had bottomed, I believe, on H1. In fact, H4. Here we go. Okay. So on H4, it's put in a reversal. It closed above that swing level, creating a higher high on H4. So what you're looking for now, here's your H4 demand. You're looking for this to be a higher low on H4. Since H4 is realigned with the daily structure, it had been, let's take a look here. Well, it's actually maintained H4 bullish since down here. So it's a big range as well. But after, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, right? You can see that occurring. Well, now it's put in a higher high on H4. First one is done since over here. I mean, it has here, but there was no swing low other than here. So on H4, bullish thesis would be you're looking for your higher low right here. Risk reward is good because you close below here. On H4, your thesis is invalidated. Daily, you're still very much bullish. So it's a tough one because, okay, you get a close below there, you cut, but then where are you looking to enter? Further down here, it's like, but that's what I'd be looking for right now. This is your H4 demand. This is your bullish thesis. This is where you're looking to bet. Like, this is a pretty good risk reward here because what are you looking at? Not even 3% to downside. Well, just as we say that, it sells off a bit. So even now, if you were to punt right now, you're looking at less than a 2% risk. Right? So I'm not saying it is going to hold, but based off of the thesis, the trade setup idea that this made a higher high right here, and you're looking for a higher low, I mean, your risk reward doesn't get any better than that. I'm not saying it can't come further down here, but there is a trade to be taken right here if you're so inclined. Hermit, what's good, buddy? What I missed? Well, you can always go back to the beginning. What have we taken a look at so far? We ran through Fwog, Mog, Popcat, Snoopy, and we've just finished smoking chicken fish. Let's keep moving along. Billy. Okay, similar thing that we just saw on smoking chicken fish. Billy put in the H4 higher high in daily bullish. Like if we zoom out, here. Billy is in bullish structure. Let's get rid of this so that we can start fresh when we're in there. Okay, Billy's in bullish structure. The high that created the low, creating a lower low, and then it got a close on daily above that swing high, creating a higher high. So now you're looking for your higher low in here in this demand. Let's extend this out a bit. Now, Billy's a tough one. It's like, people keep getting bullish on it, and then it keeps disappointing. But for the moment, you have a bullish thesis. You're in daily bullish structure. We pop down to H4, which is a good entry trigger off daily. You broke market structure back to bullish right here. And you got to close above that swing level because that was the lower low there. You've had a higher high. So you're looking for the higher low in here, in this demand. Now it gave a reaction so far, and now it's come back down into test this reaction. First thing I would look for is maybe a sweep of that. If it comes down here and sweeps that, there's your trigger. But bidding anywhere in here is a good risk reward. Okay. Again, it's daily is bullish structure. H4 is aligned with that in bullish structure. Until that structure is broken, your thesis is long. Your thesis is bullish. I know Power Naps have been trying to take a trade. Was it off Billy, or it might have actually was off CF, and there was a long trigger, but then it sold below. So I mean, these are the, you just have to go with the flow. None of this is a prediction. None of this is a guarantee. It's all just probabilities. Okay, moving along. Rap Dog. How we doing? Okay, we got 7 of you guys. How's everyone doing? Thanks for joining. Good to see more of you turning up. Always appreciate it. Welcome, welcome. Rap Dog. Okay, so I believe last stream we were down around here. And what did I say? I said, if you get a close above this swing level, I would be looking to go long somewhere. Even though the structure on H12, and is it even on daily? Yeah, even though the structure on daily had broken bearish when it closed below there, and you have your overhead supply here, and it's come up in there, tagged it twice actually, and acted as supply. But I said, because you have this level here that has become a clear an obvious level that is struggling with, if you get a close above that, well, then you're looking to go long after that. And what occurred? You got the close above. Let's go down to H12 because there's a little bit more in detail. You can see a little bit better. You got the close above. Now it's come down into this H12 demand here. Maybe I can remove some of this stuff so you guys can understand why. Okay. Now, this supply has done exactly as you would expect it to. It's done its job. Like as soon as you broke below and broke structure, the probability was it would reject here. Now, why did I say here would be where I'd look next? Well, because that level became very obvious. You had an attempt, close, like another attempt, and a close below. I said, if you get a close above this on H12 or daily, then I would be looking for a higher low. And that's exactly what happened. We got the close above, so now I'd be looking for the higher low to form in here. Here's your H12 range, even though you're still within a bigger range. Once there's been enough chop and a level emerges that's pretty clearly capping price or clearly acting as a swing high, if you get a close above that, you can, change your bias, even though it came up into here, into the supply and did its job, because now you're starting to build a base of buyers that think this area is attractive and just want to start sending it up. So I'd be looking for the higher low to form in here. Now it looks like, did that sweep or did that close below? Let's take a look here. What did that do? Okay, so that was just a sweep. Now it is below it at the moment, but if that manages to close back above there, that could be your trigger there with the sweep. But H12 is a long way to go. Like the candle just closed, so it's almost 12 hours until that candle closes. Be 7 a.m. in the morning for me. But I would be looking in this demand for your higher low. At the moment, kind of not much to do. Like you could even say, okay, if this H4 actually closes back within here, then there's your trigger, because that H4 was also a sweep. That was the same candle close as the H12, so it's a sweep. We zoom in, you can see. Yeah, there's a teeny tiny little bit of gap right there. I know you might be like, oh, you're crazy. Like, why are you zooming in so fucking much? Like, that's insane. But this is the thing that people look at, like, especially professional traders, is whether price managed to hold the level or not. Up until now, it has, but if this next one closes below, then it's a different story. But you're still in bullish structure, even on H4, because your swing low is actually the same range as the H12 on this. So if that closes with another sweep on H4, I'd take that as a trigger to go long. If not, if that loses that, then you're looking somewhere further down in here and you're looking for signals to go long. Like you might switch down to M5, M15. You guys know that I don't really love going that low of a time frame on something that has a daily structure, but it could be an early trigger. And just understand that M15 is a short time frame to base a trade off of, but you can build a base. Like if you catch the perfect flip of the M15, and then it flips another, like it creates another higher high on a higher time frame, like say H1, and you start to recapture a bunch of time frames, then you have more confidence to hold the trade longer. And I can even see right here that M15 did in fact put in a higher high when it closed above there. And it's testing, it hasn't come into test demand yet, but that could be where you're looking for an M15 lower, higher low to go long, or you could even try here. But given that the H4 is doing what it's doing, I would actually just wait to see what the H4 closes. It's still a ways away. It's like 3.5 hours away. But for that negligible amount of percentage, not even 2.5%, like if I were to zoom in there, it's like it's about 2.5%. Do I want to take that chance for 2.5%? Probably not. I'd rather just wait to see if it closes above there. Okay, moving on. Michi, another coin that's been kind of a cursed coin. So I think last stream I said, if it comes up into this supply, that it'll probably reject. And that's what it did. It came all the way to the top of it and then rejected there because it's been in bearish market structure. What would I look for now? Okay, like let's just clear this out and let's just go do an unbiased analysis without it having my prior analysis clouding my judgment. What would I be looking for here? So yeah, because truthfully speaking, there's the top of your daily range. Here's the bottom of your daily range. Daily range is bearish when it closed below here. The daily range is bearish. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like you had to close below this swing level, which is initially where it broke bearish. And then you had another close below. And then we're waiting to find out what happens here. Because if this just comes down and chills for a bit, this could be the bottom here. We don't know. Weekly, it's really choppy and unclear. So if you're in this and wondering what to do, there's like you've been in bearish structure and you haven't flipped bias at all. So if you're wondering if you should hold or not, I really don't want to tell you what to do here, but it's been in bearish structure. If you're looking for a reason to get into the trade, what you could say is, okay, yes, the daily trend is bearish, but longer term, I'm bullish, and this sort of looks like this whole, that's been slowing, right? Like this was a big drawdown, smaller, they've been getting smaller, almost like waves, right? So what I would say is I would look for something in here to maybe be forming a higher low before we try and put in a higher high, like a preemptive higher low. Not how I would particularly like to trade things, but the trouble is to get bullish again, you have to be back over 108 million with a close. So that's not really helpful. So you could say I'm looking for a higher high. Sorry, you could say I'm looking for a higher low in here. Excuse me. And approach it accordingly. And if you close below here, you're invalidated. I mean, really, this is the bottom of the range. If you start getting another daily close below here, you've broken a new lower low. So you're really hoping that this doesn't break. If we go to lower time frames, like, is there anything that I can see? Okay, well, H4 is bullish. It was bullish. When it closed above here, when it closed above this swing level, like you can see how that was capping price. It was part of a range. Then you closed above. Oops. Right, like there was your H4 range. And I mean, I mentioned before, like you hit a top of a range and you fail to capture it, odds are it goes to the bottom of the range. And that's what happened. Created the range, went to the top of the range, didn't close above, went back to the bottom, top, bottom, finally closed above. But on H4, you lost structure actually here when it closed below this level here. And then it came in underside, retested, and sold off from supply. You know, a lot of the signs on this coin are bearish at the moment. You know, Michi and Billy both have been kind of cursed coins. But if you're saying, okay, I think I have a bullish thesis on Michi, whether that be from monitoring flows, wallets that you see holding, or you really like the meme, you like the community, whatever your thesis is based around. And you're saying, I'm bullish, I'm looking for somewhere to enter. This is where I would enter. Hopefully that answers whoever had requested Michi. Okay. On to the next. Actually, how far are we through these? Brandlin. So we're about halfway through them. How are we doing? Oh, we're just a little under an hour. Okay. So I think I can power through these a lot quicker now. Okay, Brandlin. This was analysis from before. Let me get rid of some of this stuff so that you guys can see what's going on here. So we can see where we're at. I'm going to leave that level. It's an H12 level. That has clearly been very important, right? Price got above, sold off, came in underside, tagged, sold off, came up, underside, got back above, but now we're back below. So what are we doing here? We'll go back to daily because we do have a daily range. Here's the bottom of your daily range. Here's the top of your daily range. And you can see how important failing to capture and make a higher high on the range is once it gets there. You know, probability wise, that it goes back at least close to the bottom of the range. If not, the bottom of the range gets higher. But there's your range. Why was that the range? Well, you had a daily close above that level, creating a higher high on daily because it had broken bearish on daily over here, but it recaptured it when it closed above here as a higher high. So if I'm looking at this now, trouble with this is a swing low. Like, yes, this is your range, but where's your demand here? What's the demand here? What's the demand zone? Like the true demand that I see is actually over here. And if we, knowing on chain, like we could just even say it's that, but like, look how it tagged that and sent. Why is this the demand? It's the area of consolidation, area of price action that occurred as a cluster before expansion afterwards. You know, for on-chain, I like to include those sort of areas because I've seen so many times where that little bit of selling, even though it's a bullish candle, that bit of selling becomes the point, which, you can see that's happening now. If Brainlet decides to come back down into here, I think that's a buy. Now, I know when I first pulled this chart up, you probably noticed that I had this drawn. It's more, it's like that. Probably noticed that I had that drawn. I think on H12 it's clear. Yeah, okay. I think I had something like that. Anyways, it was somewhere in there. And now we've actually had a close below. And it rejected once it got back into the underside tag of that. Now, I don't love meme lines, but that one's fairly obvious to me. So that's what I had been looking at. And look at that. It closed below, came in and sort of, but the daily structure is still bullish. This is the bottom of your daily range, right? So it may just need to chop around here a bit more. If it comes down into here, I would say it's a buy. You can switch down to lower time frames to see what's going on. Yeah, I mean, even H4 is switched back to bullish when you got to close above here. So you could be saying, this is my H4 trade trigger right here. I'm looking for a higher low in here. Why is that? Well, when you got to close above there. There was a higher high on H4. So two things I would look for. You can either be saying, depending on what time frames you're trading on, like if you're looking for longer time horizons, I would be more excited about the daily demand rather than this H4 demand. Because as we've talked about before, you can have one trend being bullish and then have a counter trend. And the counter trend can be bearish. And on the lower time frame. Even if, like, say your high time frame daily is bullish, lower time frame H4 is counter trend to that and bearish, well, it can flip back and forth between bearish and bullish a few times before it actually figures out where the higher low wants to be. But if you're trying to take an H4 trade, there's your trigger right there. Like right now, it's pretty good. Moving along. Ponke. Ooh, it's got the grid lines in the background. You know, I'm not a fan of the grid lines. Let's get rid of those. Let's take a look in the chat. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Only 3 of you right now. Oh, 4 of you right now. Lost a few, but time of day. Also, these are always available to watch later. They are recorded in posterity and available on YouTube forever. Okay, let's go on monthly on this because it's got enough price history. Let's mark out a couple levels that are pretty obvious to me immediately. But nothing too actual. I mean, you can see that we've traded below this monthly level. We're currently trading below there. Let's see what that translates to on weekly. Okay, so, you know, on weekly, I mean, for me, there's the true bottom of the weekly range, even though you've lost this demand and you can see how it's rejecting off that area. You're still in daily bullish. Sorry, you're still in weekly bullish. Let's take a look at daily. Let's get rid of these. So daily is in bullish. Daily is in bearish structure. Pardon me for that flub. Why is daily in bearish? Well, you got to close below there. That was your range. You close below that range, making a lower low. Came up into here. Underside tagged and rejected off of this supply. Right there. But it hasn't made a lower low yet. It's just kind of chopping around. This one is a little bit tough because the actual top of your range. Okay, yeah, this is the top of your range. So it's actually not that difficult. By like a fraction of a distance, that's actually a swing high. So bearish structure on daily, tagged supply, rejected, but it's kind of holding this region. I mean, I think there's a couple things you could look out for. You have a swing level here. that if it just sweeps and closes back above on daily, like you're gonna have to wait a while for this to play out. But if it comes down here, sweeps and closes above, there's a trigger to go long. You'd be monitoring your trade idea would probably be up into there. It's a coin that's been around long enough with decent enough liquidity. You're not worried about it rugging. So you could go size. If you get a sweep, close back above on daily here, you can go size to get up into there. It's not a huge move, but if you're looking for 50% move on like, I don't know what your bank rules are like, but if you put a 10K, 20K, whatever size trade on there, a 50% move is not bad. It's liquid. It's not going to rug. I'd be looking for a sweep there. Failed that. If it closes below there, then it's definitely coming back down to the bottom of this range, and then you figure out what to do there. Like if it comes back down to like you get a daily close below this level, 100%. No, I'm not going to say 100% because that's foolish. But the probability that you're going to come down to the bottom of this range is very high. If it does that, you watch what happens there. Because if you close below there, you've made a new daily lower low. This gets a sweep and comes back in or never closes below that level. And you can buy really close to that invalidation point. That's a thesis to go long because you know where you're invalidated. Is it close below there? That's what I'd be looking for there. Right now, I wouldn't be looking for a trade at the moment until it gets close to that level. It's not that far away from it, but look how slow. I mean, this has been weeks of this chop. Now, one thing that I do see is this. So, also something to be aware of, because if you get a daily close on the flip side of that, like say it comes up there and then it closes above, well, then you look for an overside tag to go long, even though you're still aware of this supply. But the two triggers would be sweep, go long, flip that, go long, or down here, go long. Or the fourth, I mean, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of optionality on this one because I do see several setups that are standing out to me. A daily close above this level is one of them because then you've recaptured bullish structure. Flipping this meme line would be another one, but your upside is a lot more limited because you're looking at this as supply potential rejection. Sweep of this, better risk reward than this one. Sweep of that close above, long to go up in here, and your best one, risk reward wise, would be down here. You have 4 different trade theses off of this chart alone. This is a good one. Ponky is a good one because it's given us multiple setups that we could be looking for. Okay, moving along. Kerosene. So kerosene, I did a little bit of research. Excuse me. It backs some sort of stablecoin mechanism, and it's been bullish. I mean, it's an ETH utility coin. Is ETH utility back? I mean, there's definitely coins that have been performing better than they had for the previous 6 months. Is it a full-on utility season yet? I don't know. I'm not overly thrilled to get back in the 5 of 5 tax swaps, but you have to go where the money's flowing. And we're starting to see signs of that. I mean, on ChainEDGE, we hadn't seen utility coins launch for months. And the last 2 weeks, we've seen more utility coins pop up in new launches and end up on the portfolio summary dash than we have since March. We had all those big, massive LARP rugs that occurred in March that exposed the utility sector, a lot of it for what it was, and people just got uninterested in investing in the sector, and everyone moved to memes. Well, now utility is starting to wake up again. That doesn't mean that everything isn't a LARP. I have no idea. That's for you to judge based off whatever analysis you want to do. This is strictly a show based off of technical analysis. I do add commentary here and there on my thoughts on things. And I do still think that memes are the fastest horse. I mean, look, after the recent market correction that occurred, what moved the fastest? I mean, you had Flog go from 10 million to 70 million in a matter of days with no promises from a team. Just They just kept putting out content, and the community was there, and the price action followed. I mean, it's a lot easier to have a thesis around that than to go through the hoops and bounds of why one utility project is better than another, and if they're actually telling the truth, they're going to deliver on what they're talking about. So that's for you to decide. But okay, here we are. Kerosene, back to stablecoin mechanism. I believe it's called dyad or something like that. Immediately, what do I see? Okay. Daily demand right here. Yeah, close above here. Now, ETH coins I analyze a little bit different than I do Solana coins, especially if it's a utility play. Just they trade a little bit differently. So a lot of the times you'd see that I actually make that the demand. Why am I leaving it here on this one? Well, I just do find that ETH utility coins trade a little bit differently. Now, even though there isn't a swing low there, you actually have a swing low here on daily. So the swing level is within this demand zone. So you wouldn't want to see a daily close below that, because then it's lost structure, even though it's in demand. It will have lost structure there. But you look for a higher low to be somewhere in here. If we get a deeper pullback from the market, you could be looking in around here, but let's not worry about that right now. For now, your demand is here. Say this thing is too bullish and it's not going to come back down into there. Okay. Well, here's your H4 demand. I like to usually mark out two areas of demand, a higher time frame and a middle time frame. And right now, daily and H4, and the H4 overlaps for the daily, which is good, because there's a decent chance that if it comes down into here, you're going to find a higher low. Failing that, be aware that daily you could come all the way down to here before losing structure. But kerosene is very bullish looking coin. Pretty sure it's like got some sort of deflationary mechanics, and if you hold the coin or stake it, you get a lowered collateralization ratio for taking out loans against your collateral. And I mean, it's a proper DeFi mechanism. It's like a real working product. So, projects that have an actual product that is live and working, I'm way more bullish on than just some random 505 tax LARP that bundled a bunch of supply and is clogging the contract and selling on you. Like, I'm way more bullish on that, on a team that's actually has a product that's live and the coin plays some sort of functionality within that ecosystem. And this chart is agreeing with that. The market agrees. So those are the two areas I look for. Daily, swing low here, higher low somewhere in here. H4 range. You don't quite know if this is the top of the H4 range yet, because this could still close up here, and then you find your top of your range somewhere in there. Let's just assume for now that that's the top of the range. Well, I'd be looking for something in here, which also aligns with the previous all-time high breakout level. Moving along. Dog whiff hat. Okay, let's get rid of the grid lines. Nope, let's get rid of those. Really wish Deck Screener would figure that out. I haven't been able to get them off for a while now. Okay. What do we see here on WIF? You got a weekly fair value gap right there. And weekly, it's attempting to put in a sweep on this level. That could be a bullish sort of catalyst there. Let's go to daily. What do I see on daily? So daily is in bearish market structure. And I mean, you can see low, high, lower. Where did the actual lower low hit? The lower low hit when it closed below there. This was all a range until over here. No. Okay. Let me rescind that, because that was actually the daily range there. Closed below, came up into supply, rejected. Right? Like, here was your range. This was your daily range. And then price closed below that level, creating a lower low. Why was that the range? That was the low that created a high, creating a new high and a higher high in structure. You close below, and you've had multiple rejections, the biggest of which was when it came all the way up into this supply. There. Why was that supply? Well, and there's also the sweep of the range high. This was your bearish range. That was your daily range, and it was bearish, even though you know there was trades to be had in here. But there was your daily range. Get rid of that. There was your daily range. Perfectly swept that level. Why I say sweeps on chain are just as telling as anywhere else. It's a similar price action pattern. Yep. Into supply, rejected, rejected, actually sweep the level and a much larger sell-off. And since then, we've had continued lower lows. You even, at one point, recaptured bullish. And there was a trade here. Look, this was the top of the range, the bottom of the range that created a lower low. You had to close above. And then what happened? You came into here, into your daily demand. You had a trade there. But it has since created a lower low. And where's the range on this? Where's the daily range? Right here. Here's the top of your daily range. Here's the bottom of your daily range. Early warning signals was a close below there, because that was the range for a short, brief period of time. But, you know, close below, that was your clue that this trade was over. As soon as you close below there. But you've since had another close below here. So, I mean, this is your daily range. It is bearish. It's actually similar to Ponke insofar as it's such a large range, and it's tried it a few times, that if this keeps chopping, you're eventually looking for reasons to go long. Like, yes, that closed above there. But that, and this, so this falls into that category of, if you get a close above once, even if it's not the primary daily range or the primary high time frame analysis range, if you get an obvious range that's formed, when you had a swing high there, it was pretty clear that that was a level, because it sold off quite a bit from there. Well, now you had a close above that level. So you could actually be saying to yourself that you're looking for a higher low. And that's where your demand would be. And lo and behold, it's come and tagged it and had a reaction. Now it hasn't been a strong reaction yet, because bearing in mind you are still in bearish structure, but there is a thesis that you're looking for a higher low here to form, to attempt to go at a higher high. I think if you lose this demand zone here on daily, yes, your probability is you're going back to the bottom of that range. I don't love that this is pretty close to the, I mean, that's pretty much the middle of the range there. You're in the bottom third of the range, so there is a trade to be had there, but you have to be aware that it could get here and just, that could be the end of the trade. But there is a thesis for trying to go long here, potentially here. You get a close above here, then you're looking for it to keep going up, to try and attempt back at the top of the range. Now, I suspect when it gets there, it probably sweeps and, you know, we figure out what happens there, but that's too many moves in advance. Right now, you're trying to say, okay, if I'm looking to go long, this is your interim thesis right here. You lose this, trade's invalidated, you look for something down here at the bottom. Otherwise, you're waiting for something above here, because then you've regained bullish structure. Banana. Okay. Banana's been with us for a while. And when banana price action is doing well, it's usually because on-chain is very hot. And you can see this is monthly, and this was July. The ETH ETF was announced where? May? May or June? May, I believe it was when it happened. Well, on-chain for ETH started picking up again because it had been pretty quiet for a little while. Like April was quiet, and look at that. You had a red week. March, February, March were decent. Like we had 404 season in March. In February, on-chain got hot. Sorry, you had 404 season in February and March. And then April, things cooled when all those LARPs blew up and ETH on-chain died and it went all memes. Now, what I can see here is this weekly level has been very important and it's showing signs of rejection again. You do have a weekly demand here. So your thesis could be you're looking for a higher low here. Even though it didn't create a higher high, it is an area of weekly demand where price consolidated and then dispersed higher. Sorry, on monthly. That's a monthly level. So a monthly is pretty good signal. Even though this level here is obviously capping price, this monthly demand has been important. Why did that? Oh, that was a level that I had from before, probably on daily. Let's get rid of that for now. There. We can see how important that level is on monthly. Let's just box this out. Monthly demand. Let's see what we have on weekly. You can see how important that level is. Attempt, close above, immediately close back below, underside retested, and sold off. He even broke structure on weekly right here, which meant that you all of a sudden had this weekly supply. And what's also occurred here, right? Like in July, on-chain has sort of quieted down quite a bit. A few weeks ago, it got a little bit hotter again, and ETH utility coins started waking up, which is what we've seen here. Activity picked up again, but now it's sort of cooled a little bit again, even though I would say that ETH on-chain is better than it was a few weeks ago. It still isn't that strong yet, but Banana very closely tracks that price of activity on-chain for Ethereum. So weekly bearish structure, underside retest into supply, lower low. Well, lower high. We don't know yet if there's going to be a lower low. It could hold this weekly level. Let's go down to daily though and see what we have. Okay. I mean, daily's in bearish structure. There's no way around it. Actually, that's not true. That isn't entirely true. Even though weekly is bearish, let's get rid of this supply. Daily actually flipped bullish when it closed above here. Now that's counter to the higher time frame trend. The weekly is bearish, but you had to start somewhere to build layers, and daily is a pretty good one to start building upon. Here's your daily demand, which it tagged, and it's reacted a little bit so far. Why is this your demand and not up here? Well, that could have been considered one, but I really like it to be closer to the swing low or to the swing level, because you don't actually, yeah, there isn't a swing low there. So there's your daily range. It's come into demand, shown a reaction so far. You want this to hold, otherwise you realign with the weekly. If you get a close below there on daily, you're realigning with the weekly bearish structure. For now, this is a building block of saying, okay, I think we're going to reflip bullish. Daily's reflip bullish. Let's look for a higher low to go for a higher high. you know, you could have a trade from here and then it only go up to here. We don't know yet. We'll have to see when it, like, if it gets up here and you get sweeps. And we also want to see, like, maybe it comes down here and gives another sweep. I think from right here, you're close enough to where this swing low was that you could punt for a long. Trouble is, you lose that, you still have all the way down into here before your thesis gets invalidated with a close below here. But you're getting a reaction from here. If you're saying to yourself, you have a longer view on this, especially if you're trading on daily. Excuse me. I'm okay with 10% downside, maybe 20% downside. But there's your interim thesis, because daily's bullish. Just be aware that the weekly is bearish. So you're kind of at the mercy of what weekly wants to do. But there's your bullish thesis and setup right there for banana on daily. Lower time frame, like, let's see what we have. Yeah, I mean, H1 is bullish. You're getting higher highs, higher lows, right? Is this a higher low right here? Maybe. Like, here's your hourly. Okay, say you're taking this trade. You're like, oh, it's a little bit further away from the daily invalidation, but on hourly, there's your demand. So if it does lose that, and you have a short-term trade idea, I mean, even H4 is bullish, right? So the lower time frames are realigning bullish. It's just weekly is bearish. So that's the only thing to be aware of. But you have a trade idea right there. Or if you're a little bit more conservative, you have a trade idea on H4 right in here. But that invalidation is so close to the daily that I would just take the daily invalidation for that. So at the moment, what you're working with is your hourly demand. I don't love hourly on a coin with this much history because it can be so choppy. I mean, look, you had higher high, boom, right? Like, you have to be aware of the time frame you're trading on. For a coin that has weeks and months of history, usually daily or H12 is as low as your thesis setup you want to be trading on. But if you're like, I missed down here and I think this wants to go higher, well, here is a thesis for banana. BB. Okay. So BB has been bullish. It rode up on sort of a beta to FWOG as an emergence of a high quality art meta happened with FWOG, just from the content that they're putting out. Bubble Buddy got sort of bracketed in as a beta to that, even though it had as far as I know, it has nothing to do with that team. Let's remove all this so we can take a look at what's going on. Let's go see what we got on the different time frames. Let's turn that off for a second. Okay, it looks as though H4 is the first time frame that has structure. And, like, is there a swing low here? No. So this is really, here was your H4 demand, which it came in. It's tagged. It's responded a bit. It's responded so far, but now it's actually come back down to the bottom of that range. Here's the levels that I see. All right. So, actually, one thing I want to check. What happened here? Ooh, okay. So, you did actually have an H4 close above there. And you actually lost the H4 range, which is probably why this has been struggling so much, to be honest with you. Because given FWOG strength, you would have thought that there would be a lot more strength out of this, just simply because, look, when you close below there, you lost the H4 structure, came into supply, tagged, and sold off. So this is actually your supply. And you're actually an H4 bearish. that changes my analysis because I had been bullish on BB. But I was doing my analysis on Photon personally, and I don't believe that you had to close above there. But looking at it on Deck Screener, you definitely had an H4 higher high. This was the swing high right here. That was your H4 swing high. That was your H4 swing low. You closed below, you broke structure. This became supply. And then you actually, here's another H4 lower low. I close below. And there's another. No, sorry. That's just the bottom of the range. But close below. So in fact, your H4 range, which is in bearish structure, this is your H4 range. And you can see, look, with that move up, you swept the top of the H4 range. And now you're back down at the bottom of the range. What would get me bullish on FLOG now that I'm readjusting my analysis in real time here based off of what I've just noticed with a break below there? Let's put this back so you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. And H4 closed below, broke structure, lower low, ran the top of the range, now back at the bottom of the range. So you've had a sweep here on H4, and I've mentioned in the past on previous videos, if you get a sweep counter trend, it's a potential good trigger to at least go back to the top of the range as a good counter signal for what wants to occur. I would truthfully prefer this as a sweep of this level here and a failure to close below, because that's tell me that this level here is pretty important. I mean, I know it's important because it's actually the defining swing low of this H4 range. I think if you get a sweep of 1.8 million or really close to it and you close above without actually sweeping it on H4, there's your thesis, because your invalidation would be a close below. And then if it fails there, I would look to put a punt in down here. That definitely changes my analysis a little bit, and I have to reevaluate my position on this particular coin, because now there's a very clear range that we're trading in. Let's get rid of all this. Put this here. Obviously, that was an important level. And put one here as well. Important level. This is your H4 range. It's a bearish H4 range because it's in a bearish market structure. A close above that would flip the structure back to bullish, but that's a long way away from where it is right now to flip bullish. So personally, if you get a sweep of that level there, that would be a trigger to attempt to trade, because your invalidation is so close that you know where to cut. Because if you lose that, you cut and you look for something down here. At the moment, yes, you're getting a sweep on that level, or you got a sweep on that level. It's not quite the bottom of the range yet, though. I'd prefer it at the bottom of the range, but there is, you could say that that's your thesis. Is it swept? H4. I'm looking for it to go long here. That's what I'd look for. If you have a higher risk tolerance and you think that's a good enough trigger, go for it. If you want something a little bit cleaner with a closer invalidation, wait for here. If you really like confirmation and you don't like buying blood, you prefer to buy with, you prefer to buy with that clear of a signal, well, then you got to close above there, but then you also have to worry about up here. So your risk reward is best right down here around 1.8 million. We can also throw the fib up. Let's take a look what's going on. Yeah, okay. Bottom of the range aligned with the pocket. So even though you lost that structure there, coming down here, you could have just taken a punt off of the pocket tag, saying, okay, it's hitting the golden pocket. It's into and out an area of H4 demand. I think it's going to bounce. And you were rewarded if you took that trade, right? Like, say you even got in here. 86%, not quite a 2x. So on chain, it's, it's not nothing to write home about. But yeah, that's what I would be looking for. Either your risk tolerance is high enough that you take this trade right now with aims at it going up here, but knowing that it could fail that level. Better risk reward down here. Trading with confirmation is up here. But you get to close above there, then you're looking for a higher low in here. So you wouldn't be buying this breakout. You'd be looking for a higher low to form, right? Like it wouldn't look bad to see Jew, right? Sorry, I wouldn't. Jew, right? Like that looks perfectly fine. But I would be waiting for one of those triggers, or you take the trade right now. Kobe. Okay. Kobe was one from, a couple streams ago, even brought it up again last stream, that the trade played out the way that I had laid out. Let's remove all this now and see what we got going on. Okay. Key level. Another key level. You had a daily higher high right there. And now, excuse me. Now you're into daily demand. Now that is a massive fucking zone. So like difficult to base a trade off of because that is a really, really big zone, really large demand zone. What would I be looking for? Well, this is the instance of where you got to go to lower time frame. You just got to wait for it to align, right? Because at the moment, H4 is putting in lower lows. Where did that occur? Okay. Well, where can I see the lower lows? There's one right there. There's H4 lower low. When it closed below that level, you had another H4 lower low just now, actually. So your H4 range is here. We don't know where the bottom of this range is yet because this could just end up going lower. So we can't really define the bottom of the H4 range yet. But at the moment, you're an H4 bearish. So you wait for where the swing low forms. And then on H4, you wait for a recapture of the swing high. And you bid a demand retest. We don't know where that's going to be yet. Because this daily demand, this box is all daily demand. You could come all the way down into here before finding your higher low. Like if I even see, the trouble is also to define this, there isn't actually a daily fair value gap until here. So it's almost at the bottom anyways. I mean, it's not quite. Okay, so there's something you could be looking for. Is into there. But I would stress that just wait for that lower time frame to start aligning back with the higher time frame, because at the moment H4 is bearish. H1 is okay. H1 is bullish. So no, it's just chop city. You had to close above, higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low. Right? Like it's chop city in here. You've had higher highs, higher lows, now a lower low. It's chop city. So I wouldn't rely on that. So I don't love using lower time frame on a chart that has higher time frame history, and we're working on a daily time frame. I would wait for H4 to realign, or a daily print down into here would be worth looking to go long. Okay. Okay, let's take a look in the chat. Power Naps app. How do you position personally as a reference? I also just bought this on range lows a few hours ago, referring to BB. If you see this super late. Well, I'm seeing it now. Hello, apologies about that. I just clicked the wrong button for a second. Let me re-share my screen. Here we go. Okay, there, we're back. Can you guys hear me? Can you just let me know if you can hear me? Apologies about that. Apologies about that. Referring to BB, if you see this super late, hopefully you can hear me and you can see my screen. Excuse me. Yeah, all good. Okay, perfect. So on BB, you're asking. So my original thesis, because I hadn't noticed on this chart that I broke a lower low when it closed below there, my original thesis was close above this level here, because this was, even regardless of this being a bearish range, this is still an H4 range. It was just at that moment in time, it was a bullish range in my mind, but I sort of reevaluated now. But you do have demand right here. Like my thesis was based off of it closing above this level right here. You got to close above. So this is a thesis right here. Does that make sense to you, Power Naps? Like my initial trigger was just based off of this tag down here. But now knowing that it's in a bearish range, this rejection here makes a whole lot more sense. But you're in a range until, there's a phrase, it's a range until proven otherwise. And right now, you're trading in a range. So it's traded at the bottom of the range, went to the top. It's now come back pretty close to the bottom of the range. There is a strong case that it's going to trade back to the top of the range. And once it does, hopefully gets above that range and breaks out. But at the moment, prior to me noticing that it was in bearish range, the thesis was this is your demand right here for your higher low. That can be true. I like it a little bit less now, and I would much rather see it come and sweep this and try and get in as close to that level there, the 1.8 mil. Just because your invalidation is so close, and right here, like this could just, there isn't, for me, a strong enough case that this does hold at the moment. Yeah, I mean, look, H1, you broke structure here. Actually, you broke H1 structure there, but you've also broken a lower low on H1 here when it closed below that level, and look at it rejecting off of there, right? So for me, the better case, even though it's pretty close, like, yeah, you're really close to here, like say you're here to here, that's still a 16% move, right? I would much rather try and bid that than hoping that this demand holds. I'm not saying it can't or it won't. I just think it's traded to the top of the range. Why would it not come all the way down to the bottom of the range? That's how I view that. Does that make sense? Yeah, it was cute. Okay. He says, Yeah, I was curious on like specific low time frame mechanics of entering the position. Got stopped out on it once already before it ran higher, then it came all the way back down here. So punted these range lows again. I mean, it's near the range low. It's very close to the range low. I mean, the low time frame mechanic that I'm looking for here, that I would be looking for here. The trouble is, like, if you're looking on H1 here, look how choppy this has been, right? It's been a lot of chop. Yes, you did have a trigger. No, because your H1 range is the same as the H4 range. So your H1 range was just, okay, it made the range, price came back down near the range and tagged the pocket. Like these double lines right here, these double orange lines right here, the 1.9 and 1.69 mil, that's the golden pocket. Your thesis was, okay, it's retesting the pocket. It's already had a strong reaction from there. I think it's going to send to the top of the range. And look, on H1, you're starting to get some expansion here. So, this very well may hold, and there you go. H4, like even in the last couple minutes, that H4 candle starting to look more bullish. And you did have a sweep. Like I've said, a sweep counter trend is usually a bullish indicator, even if just for the interim. Excuse me. So you do have a thesis right there. You understand that you're at the bottom of this demand for this, not the ultimate range. See, the thing is, it went bottom of the range to the very top of the range. My thinking would be the bottom of the range. But the trouble will also say, so you've entered now. It's not the trouble, and I say that often, and I should stop saying that because it's not the trouble, but you just have to be okay with maybe it does come down here, but you're already in the trade, that you just let it do that as maybe it's a quick stab sweep that you don't want to sell on because you're already in the trade and you don't want to, because that's an easy way to fumble something. PowerNap says, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks. You're welcome, buddy. It's good to see you here. I'm pretty sure you've been here, if not for every single stream, pretty much every single stream. And I really appreciate you for that, buddy. So thanks for showing up. Okay, where were we? We had finished. Did we finish Kobe? I believe. Oh, no, everything just shifted on me. I believe we had finished Kobe. Yeah. Kobe was done. You're looking for either a higher high or the daily to come down into here. H4 higher high or the daily to come down into here. Okay, we've got 4 more coins to go and doing pretty good. I'm going to wrap these up pretty quick though. Okay, lock in. There's a lot going on here. That's muddy to look at. Okay, weekly demand, bullish structure on weekly. It's come down all the way down to the bottom of the weekly demand and had a reaction. In the process, on daily, pardon me, daily is bearish. And it's come up into this daily supply, right? Range. That was your daily range. We kept this one as the swing low level because it never closed below that swing low level, but that's your daily range. Came into supply, rejected. But given that it's in weekly bullish, I now want to be looking for a higher low into here. And we're there now. Right? I want to say, because the weekly is bullish, I think the daily is going to flip back to bullish before you know it. But I don't want to have to buy a 2x from here. Right? So now, in here, you're looking for, let's put that there in case it does a sweep. In here, you're looking for this to be your daily range. And you're looking for a higher low in here. You can pop down the lower time frames. Have we flipped anything yet? Where's the top of the H4 range? Okay, I don't love that the top of the H4 range is all the way up here because I don't actually have a swing high anywhere in here like that, but I didn't create the low. So H4, you don't really have anything yet to work off of because H4 is bearish, but maybe H1. Again, I don't love H1 on a daily chart, but we got to work with what we got to work with. And here. Okay. So daily is bullish when you got to close above here. Sorry, hourly is bullish when you got to close above there. You came down into this demand here. It is a lot of chop though, and a lot of conflicting signal. Why am I saying that? Well, look, you even had a break an hourly here back below, but then it ended up just chopping through. So it's tough to trade. It's tough to base a daily setup on an hourly trigger on chain. Perps, it's a little bit easier because they trade a little bit cleaner and not quite as choppy. But on chain, like hourly on a daily chart, starts to get all over the place. But let's just say we ignored that because we're like, okay, I'm looking at a higher time frame, and that one little hourly flub doesn't really bother me. Well, this is all hourly demand. It hasn't gone on to create a higher high yet, but this is where you're looking for that to occur. Okay. Oh, that is one of my kids in the background. She is too old to be crying like that. So I don't know what just happened. It is late for her though, and she should be going to bed. I think my wife and daughter just got home. Okay. So that's lock-in. I'd be looking for a higher low to form in there. Sigma. Okay, last stream, I had said on H12 that it made a higher high here. And that I'd be looking for a higher low somewhere in here. Let's remove this because I don't love it. It's a lot going on here. Okay. Let's start the highest time frame because that's what I like to do. Here was your daily range. There's the top of the range. Here's the bottom of your range. Daily range is bearish. I'm going to be honest because you had close below, lower low. After a sequence of lower lows on daily, this was your most recent lower low. Here's another good example of bottom of the range, trades back to the top of the range, fails to capture the top of the range, trades back. Now, it hasn't quite come all the way down to the bottom of the range. And one way we could sort of look to that and see maybe it has a willingness to trade higher was you had an H12 higher high. So you're starting to get a willingness to trade above. And so then you're looking here on H12 for a higher low, which it actually did. It tagged and went up, but it sort of stalled. What would I do now on Sigma? Almost a 2x, not bad. What would I do now on Sigma? I think now you have to wait for a daily close above here, or you want back near the bottom of the range, because trading here is, as I say, you don't want to diddle in the middle. There's that classic trader phrase, don't diddle in the middle. It's a reason, it's a phrase for a reason, because when you look on daily, where are we right now? We're dead in the middle of the range. And it's the last place you want to trade because it could go either way, and you just don't know. Even if your lower time frame is giving you one signal, oh, that is ugly. That is an ugly candle. I'm going to tell you right now, that is ugly. So the H12 trade is already played out, I think, because you had a reaction and it couldn't even get back to the top of the range. So given you're in the middle, I would wait either for, you can see how important that level is on daily. So you wait for a close above there, or it may even just want to tag this previous breakout level again, or into this level down here. But right here is the last place I'd be wanting to formulate a trade based off of. If I'm already in the trade, what do you do here? Like if you bought somewhere down here or somewhere here, like you're still in profit. I think if you bought this here, like you want to see your trade out. You want to see your trade unfold. You don't want to, there's a phrase from Trader Dante, which I love, which is just don't be a cunt. You have your trade thesis, you have your setup, you defined where your trade is invalidated. So your thesis is based off of where's your stop, what's your trigger, what's your target. And you don't want to be a cunt. You don't want to fuck around when when the trade is unfolding in the middle, because you could come even all the way back down to where your trigger was and then decide to go up, right? So if you're already in the trade and you took it based off of this here, like this H12 trigger, you got to ride it out. If you bought somewhere up here, that's a little harder because you have your trade failed a while ago because there was no trigger up here. If you're in from up here, the unfortunate thing was like this was your cue to get out. Now, how, you lose daily structure, like you have no idea if it's going to give you even that much, but they tend to eventually, if there's enough volume there. I do love that there's a Homelander from The Boys. Been watching that show with the wife. It's a pretty good one. I'm not going to lie. It's a pretty good show. The Boys. So what am I saying on Sigma? Either a daily close above there is your trigger, or back down here. If you're in the trade and you're in from lower, ride it out and find out what happens. If you're in the trade from higher, like what's your plan? Because if you come all the way back down here, you've lost even more than where you're at right now. Like if you bought in up here and you're down here, it's kind of just better to cut your losses. And if you regain some sort of if you regain some sort of bullish trigger, then you can go long again. But at the moment, you're just bleeding out money. And then there's nothing says it has to go up, right? Like it could just come down here and then make a daily lower low and, just trying to see if I see some sort of meme line on this at all. I guess you have that. Would be, okay, you flipped that. You're looking for this. I just don't love this as a meme line. There's two, yeah, it's there. I do see it. And you also came down into, it's not the primary demand because it lost structure, but it did come down into a daily demand area, right? I think your better probability, though, is if it comes down one more time into this demand and tags where all of this sort of intersects somewhere around here. Because, people are going to be looking at that, right? So I think if you can get something that intersects with all this, that's probably a really good long trigger. Moving along. Barry. Got two more to go. Utility play on ETH. I mean, look, ETH utility is definitely doing better. I will give it that. This is daily. It's a large range, but here's a fair value gap right there. If that fails, bottom of your range is down here. You have a demand zone in here. Those are your two daily demands that you'd be looking for. Here's your daily range. Oh, that became invisible. Here's your daily range. Daily range. Dips down into here, probably not bad for buying. Like if I were to fib this range, where would the pocket be? Okay, so the pocket's down here. Dips down into this are probably for buying. I don't know anything about the project. I don't know if the team is delivering any of that stuff. Oh, I hate when that misaligns across time frames. But let's see. Do we have an H4? Okay, so H4, no, it's still bullish because the bottom of the H4 range, even though you've made a higher high here, the swing low is still all the way down here. I mean, H4 is bullish. H1's probably broken structure. Yeah, H1 broke structure, made a few lower lows, but then now it's made a higher high. But see how choppy that is, and like, how do you base a trade off of what is that? How do you base a trade off of that? So I think what you do is dips into here for buying. Unfortunate reality is daily range doesn't break it down here, but you just have to ask yourself how far down you're willing to go before you think your trade idea is wrong. Like if you're already in this coin, this does have the makings of distribution. Just chop back and forth in an area. Usually after distribution, there's usually some sort of lower price that comes in to try and find a higher low. But if you get a daily close above here, I mean, that's a really bullish signal. For now, dips into here, you can see are being bought. You can go down at 4 hour. Yeah, dips into here. People are stepping in to buy. Just taking a look in the chat. Powernaps says he's pretty much break even on Sigma, thinking of setting that stop right below or just get out now and wait. Powernaps is talking about Sigma. If you're in from below and this was your trigger based off of H12, like you don't want to sell here and then tomorrow you wake up and it's up here, right? Like that would fucking suck. It's one of those situations where you just have to kind of let the trade unfold. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But hopefully you entered this place that was close enough to invalidation that you don't lose too much. I think it does want to tag this demand again, just from looking at that. And this candle right here, I mean, we looked at it on H1. That was ugly, right? Like, that's ugly. So maybe that's your invalidate. Maybe that move right there invalidated your thesis to you. I don't know. But you can see how powerful of a move that was. And you're actually, yeah, I mean, H4, you broke bearish when it closed below that level right there. You can see here, right? There's your H4 swing low. You close below. And then it swept the high that created that. And now it's threatening another H4 lower low. But keep in mind, was your trade based off of H12? Yeah, I'm out for now. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Just given how that kind of looked. Okay, one more to go. Chud Jack, and how we doing? Oh, just over 2 hours. So let's finish this up since I don't want them to be longer than 2 hours. Chud, billions must buy. Chud is in bearish daily structure. And the supply has been acting as supply. That is a choppy chart too. Like that's a lot of chop. Like if you're a holder on this, your emotions are all over the place because you're right. Like it's a tough one. Especially it's only 8 million market cap. Like that level of choppiness on daily is, I don't love that. Like look at how choppy that's been on daily. I usually like to just see something do its move and then get out and move on. Okay, but we can see here that this level has been acting as the middle of the range resistance. Trouble is, you flip that, you could still come up to here and run into resistance. I also don't know if you're looking to enter this trade, whoever requested Chud Jack. Are you looking to enter the trade, or are you wondering whether you should be holding? Because if you're wondering whether you should be holding, anything up into here, you sell. And then if it flips that into bullish, you just try to rebuy a higher low, wherever that may form. But rather than it come up into here and just sell off more and you lose even more money, just like anything up into here for now, you sell. Start flipping levels, you can look to re-enter. Yes, you're not going to have the same entry. Like that, there's factors, right? Like, where did you enter? Are you in from down here? Then waiting around up here isn't so bad because you're still in profit, but you're just waiting for things to flip, even because you're definitely in a bearish structure. If you're looking to enter, it's the same similar story we've seen on so many coins tonight, right? Like bearish structure, bearish range. If you get a sweep down here, close back above, or a close that doesn't even sweep but it stays above the level where your risk is very defined, that's a reason to go long, just to play the range. Or if you start flipping a level, you play it. But in here, I wouldn't be buying in here. You could say, okay, Newsy Johnson, take a chance. I'm bullish on it, and but where is your trigger? Where are you invalidated? You're invalidated down here. What is your trigger to go long here? I think if it closes above this, though, I'd be more confident than here. I'd be way more confident here, or more confident with the close above here to regain daily bullish structure. But right here, it just feels like, you're going to put that trade on, get 5%, and then lose. And then lose 40%, right? Like, is that what you want to do? I don't. How I view that. Quiet day on chain today, isn't it, at the moment? I'm just taking a look at my ChainEDGE alpha streams, and there's really not much happening. It's one of those nights. Good night for a stream. Although I wish there was more to talk about on these charts. Actually, here's something I can point out too. We had talked about something going for all-time highs and then losing that level. This is a pattern to look out for, right? Like, this is very choppy, but tempted, closed above, made a new higher high. Like, it made a few, like, low that created the high, creating a higher high. You got, well, it didn't even create another higher high. So that was your range, but closed back within the range. Underside rejected, sold. Like, this is such a typical story for on-chain. This cycle. It's not what it was in the past where, you break out of all-time highs and you go into price discovery. It's, we're at, we broke a new high. Let's all sell. Let's book those profits. I have a very hard time suggesting to people that it's a hodler's market, that mentality is the winning strategy anymore. I've viewed it as such for a while now. Like, I haven't thought that it's a hodler's market, it's a trader's market. And yes, there are the exceptions to that where holding has rewarded people. But overall, this is such a typical, early makes a high, consolidates, goes back for the high, and then comes back down. And now you're building in so many layers of bag holders. It's just something I'd be aware of. This is why part of the reason why I wanted to start this series, these live streams, is to help people learn to trade more than to just bag hold and become community members. Okay, well, we made it through all of them. Hold on one second. Let's just look through the chat really quick. Okay, PowerNap said, yeah, I'm out for now. He was talking about Sigma. Munar said, I asked for Chud, not necessarily looking for entry, but using as a case study. Did everything that I said make sense to you on that? Do you understand the structure? And I mean, there's a few things that we noticed there, like the attempt at all-time high and then just failing that as a range. I guess one last thing we could look at on it is where would I say the bottom of the range is on this? Let's go weekly. Given it traded to the top of the range, failed, where would I say at the bottom of the range on this? I mean, I kind of see this here, right? There's a meme line there occurring. But the bottom of the range really is something like that. You know, price never closed on the weekly. Once weekly price closed above, it never closed below that level, but it's tagged it a few times. So that's what I would say is the true bottom of this whole range, right? So I think it would look most attractive as a range play down here. Up here, trading in the middle of the range. Are there trades to be had? For sure. Absolutely. But it would be more attractive as a range play on a weekly time frame back down here. Can you do a quick analysis on ZRO? I do kind of want to wrap this up, guys. It's 2 hours, and no one's like when people see on YouTube, they look, oh, it's 2 hours plus. Like less and less people are inclined to watch. But let's see if I can get through them really quickly. Okay, zero. Let's take a look. Layer 0. Okay, which one has the most liquidity and volume? 1.8 mil volume, 2.2 lick. On Arbitrum, I'm pretty sure it was an Arbitrum launched coin, so that makes sense. Oh, okay. So I had some analysis before. Daily is bearish. Why is it bearish? Well, it broke below. I mean, this has been quite choppy, but daily became bearish when it closed below there. Here's the top of your daily range. Here's the bottom of your daily range. Where would I have said this? So yeah, here's supply. Okay, 0 is an airdrop token, heavily VC funded. I believe I sold my zero tokens somewhere here on day one because I know that airdrops just haven't been doing great lately. If you can flip daily back over here, like if you get a daily flip here, but you're already at a $500 million valuation, like how much do we value these things at? I know market caps are a meme and can be a meme in crypto, especially if we're in a bull mania. So, you know, I mean, it's an important protocol. It's a widely used bridging protocol across ecosystems. Like I've used it to bridge in the past. It's not one of my preferred bridges, but I have used it in the past. I actually found it more expensive than most other bridges, although I have heard that they've implemented new new smart contracts that are a little bit more economical. But I found it to be on the more expensive side for bridging. I mean, it's not like they're expensive. It's like, you know, $10 or whatever. But with precious ETH, and you're doing bridging often, I find it's one of my least preferred bridges to use. But that doesn't matter. That's, you know, unimportant to this question here. I just talking. If you get a daily flip above here, you're back to bullish. The close above here, then you'd look like, say, the next couple days you get a close above here. Most likely, you're looking at a daily demand here, but we don't know yet what's going to happen because it's already into that supply rejected, into the supply starting to show signs of rejection again. Does that mean I think it's going to come all the way back down to the bottom of this range? That's a long distance to go for such a large market cap coin. And I'm pretty positive this trades on sex. And you did break out of this here. Like, what have I said? If there's a clear level, look at that. And that was a perfect flip. What have I said before? If there's a clear level capping price within a range on a higher time frame like daily, you can start to assume like maybe if it flips that, that's your trigger. Well, look at that. Closed above, came down and tagged, had it bounce, but it bounced right back into supply. So like your time frame on these trades is shorter. That's why I like a bottom of a range or a higher high. If you're in bearish structure, doing this business in the middle, like there's not much room, right? Like what could you have said here? Okay, you could have said on this down here, you're like, okay, I got to sweep. So then there's a larger trade, but it's, hearsay now because that's already unfolded. I would be looking for this to hold because if you lose this, then you're starting to look back down here and then potentially back down to the bottom of the range. This one probably a lot more dependent on what BTC does. Because if BTC just decides to go on a giga run, then things like this are going to get pulled up with it. If BTC decides that it wants to dump again, then downside is on the cards as well. This is like anytime a coin is listed on a SEX, you have to keep that in mind a whole lot more because the correlation is higher. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Why did that just pop up? Okay, that happened. Have I left that up the whole time? Let me get rid of that. Anyways, good reminder, thedailyedge.com/subscribe. This is Astrology for Men. We are brought to you by The Daily Edge. I recommend you go subscribe to our daily newsletter. Okay. Let's pull that off. Quick plug. I threw a couple tickers in this. I think power naps. I do appreciate you doing that, but I think we've run a bit long and I would like to wrap this up. Super Puppy Boy says, thanks, G. Appreciate you for showing up. Thank you very much. Power naps. We can get to them maybe in the Telegram. We can have a little bit of back and forth a little bit later on, but I do have some stuff I want to do now. We're going to wrap this up. Let's just throw up the obligatory. Please, if you enjoy what I am doing here, to like, subscribe, and comment. It helps our show grow. Tell your friends, tell your family, anyone that wants to learn how to trade. The techniques that I am teaching here don't just apply to on-chain. They also work for any instrument. I mean, you have to adapt a little bit, but any monetary instrument that is trading, it's psychology. And as such, similar things are going to play out. You make little adjustments here and there, but for the most part, it's all psychology. Let me pull this off. By the way, I think the streaming platform that I'm using just recently upgraded the screen share to be higher quality, and it looks as though it's pretty crisp. Hopefully it looks a lot crisper for you guys. I'm not sure what it looks like on your end. I'll have to check later, but it does look crisp. Let's pop this one back up. Let me hide. How can I get rid of? No, I can't. Okay, well, this has been Astrology for Men. I am 0xRapture. Again, like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy what we do. Links are in the description below. We are brought to you by The Daily Edge as well. ChainEDGE, links in the description below. If you value what I'm doing here and you're looking for, if you're looking to sign up for ChainEDGE, there is a reference code in the description for 10% off your subscription. Although I do believe right now we are running a promotion throughout the month of September for 25% off for new subs. So maybe go and locate that one if you need it. I can locate it for you as well. Probably a little bit better than the 10% one that my ref code is, but if you are looking to subscribe to ChainEDGE, there's that. Also, if you're looking for a new trading terminal, there's a ref link for BullX, which gets you 10% off fees, as well a little bit of rev share from BullX goes my way. It's not a lot, but it does help putting on this show. I'm not an official partner, not an affiliate, just standard BullX ref link. Again, I am 0xRapture, and thank you for joining. I'm signing off, and I'll put on a little bit of music for us to exit on. Thanks for everyone that showed up. I appreciate you all. Talk to you again soon.